Hey everyone, welcome back to the Infatuasian podcast. This is your host Curtis, and we have a really fun episode for you today. We're going to be speaking with Dr. Jonar De Guzman. Jonar is a physician in internal and lifestyle medicine. He's kind of made it one of his missions in life to help Asian Americans navigate type 2 diabetes. And by navigate, I mean reverse insulin resistance so that your A1C numbers can come down by themselves without medication. And so he talks a lot about lifestyle, diet, of course, but more than that, just kind of looking at health in the big picture of things like sleep, stress, diet, exercise, looking holistically at us. And trust me, I am his audience because, I got bad A1C numbers, type 2 diabetes that runs in my family. I definitely don't exercise or sleep as much as I should. So I was his primary audience for his talk, but I hope that you enjoyed as well. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. You're going to learn something today by listening to this episode. So hopefully you'll stay tuned and learn something, and we can get healthy together if you like. And so we'll hear from Dr. Jonar in a second. Some big episodes coming up. We're getting ready for our 5th anniversary, so I've got that episode ready to go. But besides that one, I had a really fun one I just recorded last week where I talked to, let's see, how many did I talk to? Like 6 authors. And, names that you might have heard like Waiki Wang, Mike Chen, Lisa Lee, Kirsten Chen, and Vanessa Hua, as well as my co-host, Sarah Sunling Blackburn. And so we talked to these authors about book recommendations for this summer. If you're like me, you always like to bring a book with you to the airport or wherever you're going. So we wanted to recommend a book for you, and we got some really good recommendations. I haven't read them all, of course, but I am just excited to because you know me. I teach during the year, so summer is really my chance to read a couple novels. So I'm looking forward to that. So that episode's coming up in the beginning of June. And next week we have a really fun episode with Dengue Fever. If you don't know who Dengue Fever is, they're a Cambodian rock band that plays stuff inspired by Cambodian rock in the 1970s. So they're very fun. I think you'll enjoy the music, but I also hope that you enjoy the chat that we had with Zach and Nemo. Okay, so that's enough of that. Hope you tune in for those episodes. But for now, enjoy our chat with Dr. Jonar De Guzman right after this. And so today we're joined by Dr. Jonar De Guzman. Hey, good morning.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Do you go Guzman or Guzman?
De Guzman. Yeah.
De Guzman.
Yeah.
And actually, you're the second De Guzman we've had on this podcast.
I saw. We are unrelated, but yes, I also sing.
And his mom's a doctor, so yeah. So I was like, are they related? Well, no relation. Okay, good. Get that out of the way. Where are you calling in from today?
So I'm calling from SoCal, specifically Signal Hill, which is in the Long Beach area.
Okay. How's the weather down there? Looking pretty warm,
Beautiful.
I'm imagining.
I just went for a walk this morning, so yeah.
Yeah, my sister's in LA proper, mid-city, and so she's always saying, oh, it's 70, oh, it's 75, oh, it's 80. It never gets below 70, never gets above 90, it's like... Can we talk about your roots for a sec?
Yeah.
So, where's your ancestral home?
Yeah, so I am full-fledged Filipino. Both my parents are from the Philippines, specifically like the northern part of the Philippines. So technically, like I'm actually 100% Ilocano. There's all these specific like dialects within the Philippines. So yeah, my ancestors are from that area, that region.
Okay, and they moved to Southern Cal?
No, actually, they moved to Chicago.
Oh,
so
okay.
I've got 3 older sisters. They were all born in the Philippines. I was the only one to be born here. So back in the 70s, right before martial law actually was enacted by Ferdinand Marcos, president at the time, they fled here to the United States, and then they brought my sisters over, and then I was born.
What brought you to California?
Work, my job.
Okay.
I matched in residency down here in Southern California. So, for those that don't know what residency is, that's like continuation of medical training after you graduate from medical school. So, yeah, I got matched out here, and I've been here ever since. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's flash back to a 10-year-old Jonar.
Yeah.
What was he thinking? What were you thinking about doing as a career? What was your dream?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't even want to have anything to do with science.
Okay.
I know you're a biology teacher, right?
Yeah.
I see all that stuff in the background. I wanted nothing to do with science. I did my best in junior high and high school to like take all the science classes, take the AP classes, get the tests done so that
Mm-hmm.
I could like pass out of it. So I was able to do that. I actually majored in economics and politics in undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
I went to NYU and with the intention of going to like international politics and law, helping people that way. I've always wanted to help people. I think that's something that was like innately present in me ever since I was young. And so that's the way that I wanted to help people. But um, back when I was in college, my dad was diagnosed with colorectal cancer.
Mm.
And so, being from Chicago, going to school out in New York, I decided to move back home and work and help with my parents and my dad while he was going through treatment. But then he eventually passed away
Mm.
in 2004.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so. That might be one piece of the puzzle, but I also heard that you had a little bit of a health revelation when you were actually in medical school or finishing up your medical training.
Yeah. It was more so, well, you can say it started in med school, but it definitely came to a head during my residency.
Okay.
There's a lot behind that, but essentially, as doctors, we're trained in Western medicine, so we're trained to treat others with medications, procedures, surgeries, but very little is present in the way of helping to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so through residency, it's very long hours. You're working like 12, sometimes 16-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're there 24 hours in the hospital on call.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you go home and you wake up to repeat the process all over again. So yeah, I was 40 plus pounds overweight, pre-diabetic, tired all the time, using food and even like alcohol to like numb the pain and drown out my emotions. And I realized I'm like, I remember specifically, this was 10 years ago. So this is 2016. I just got off shift. It was January 1st. I looked in the mirror and I'm like, what am I doing?
Mm.
How can the patients I'm taking care of entrust in me as a physician when I'm not even taking care of myself? And so
Mm-hmm.
then I went down this whole path of figuring out how I could help myself heal in natural ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was the turning point in, I think, not even just my personal but professional career.
Mm-hmm. And how did your dad's passing affect you? Was that the impetus to get into medicine in the first
Yes.
place?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I was very involved with my dad's care. And, I mentioned earlier, I have 3 older sisters. One of them is a physician. And so through his care and then after he passed away, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
Mm.
You know, I wanted to do marketing, and this is also crazy too, which I don't think I've ever mentioned on a public platform. I wanted to do professional poker playing.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my sister was like, "No, man, you should go into medicine. You're built for this."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And yeah, so yeah, I never really looked back in that sense. I had to go back and take all the science classes. Um, yeah, that was back in Chicago. I was working as a barista at Starbucks because at the time, if you work part time, they gave full benefits.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was doing that. I was full time student, part time barista. Yeah, that was crazy, but like it was rewarding. Like I got in on my first try, and yeah, I went to Georgetown in DC. But yeah, my dad's passing was sort of the inspiration to go into medicine in the first place.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So the puzzle pieces are fitting together here a little more.
Yeah.
And so now you're a practicing physician, but you're also doing some different things that we'll talk about later with
Yeah.
coaching and podcasting.
Yeah.
But let's talk about health for a second now. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about it.
you were thanking me for letting you on, and I'll let you know that and Amy, your manager, was telling me a little bit more about what you do, and I was saying, I don't know, because I feel like it's gonna be 45 minutes of you scolding me. I probably do everything you tell us not to do.
Listen, I listened to your podcast for the March Madness best foods, battling different cuisines from,
Yeah.
different Asian countries. The thing is, I'm not gonna scold anybody for doing this. Like I lived a life of enjoying food, and I mean, I still enjoy food. Really, I do. That you can't take that part out of it, but I think the way that our modern society and modern food is set up, it's totally flipped from how it used to be with our
Mm.
ancestors.
Mhm.
The way that our ancestors ate, it was primarily whole food plant foods, right?
Yeah.
And just a sprinkling of and like garnishing of meat.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays that's completely flipped. The
Mhm.
plants are like a side dish. The main dish is the meat. The main
Yeah.
dish are like processed foods. So I think part of it is just the way that modern society has kind of flipped the script when it comes to our cooking. Um, but there's other stuff around it too. It's not just food. You know, it's the way
Mhm.
that we live our lives. Like so many of us that work are sitting at our desks all day long. Our bodies weren't meant to sit in chairs 8 hours, 9 hours a day. They were meant to move. That's what our
Yeah.
ancestors did. They were out about in the fields or, fishing, what have you. Like they weren't sitting in an office chair, not moving their bodies. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of components to health apart from just the nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when we talk about genetics a little bit in my class, I talk about too that our bodies were optimized for almost starvation conditions, like a lot of our
Yeah.
ancestors had to process food so efficiently, that
Yes.
we got 500 calories a day, we had to make the most of it. But that's unfortunate now because, you walk down Safeway and it's basically unlimited calories. You can have as many calories as you possibly want
Yes.
anytime, anywhere. And it's probably not optimal for our bodies.
No, it's not. It's very unhealthy for us. But I
Yeah.
mean, you touched on a topic that like I focus on in my health coaching. So for those that don't know about it, like I help Asians and initially it was Asian Americans, but I've opened it up to Canada too. So I help Asians in Canada as well reverse insulin resistance. So
Mm.
insulin resistance being either prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. And, part of this is that the way that diabetes is managed here in the Western world, these approaches were built based off of like Eurocentric models
Mm.
and studies.
Mhm.
And our bodies are built differently, us Asians. We put on visceral fat. So there's two main types of fats in the body. There's the subcutaneous fat, the ones that like, we can see from the outside, right? The other one I'm talking about is visceral fat that wraps around our organs.
Mm.
And us Asians are way higher risk for developing that visceral fat. And that's the toxic type of fat. That
Mm.
puts you at high risk and quick development of type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease. So, and for Filipinos, because I'm Filipino, Filipinos and South Asians, we are at the highest risk out of all those subgroups.
Mm.
So for us, it's a real threat. And so it's like, what can you do about it? And so for us, we need a different approach.
Mhm.
Part
Mhm.
of it is genetics. Yeah, part of it, we have this genetic predisposition, 100%. But genetics isn't the only factor. I often tell folks like genetics loads. So if you're talking about chronic disease or even diabetes specifically as like a gun. The genetics loads the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. So we actually
Mm.
have way more power over our health than we realize. And,
Hmm.
some of the foods you brought up, like stuff you can buy in Safeway or any grocery store, a lot of it is processed, and those things are inflammatory in the body, and
Mm.
that inflammation, it can create that storm to create the conditions to develop all of those chronic conditions I just mentioned.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. Have you ever wondered, you walk into a grocery store, there's a section that says healthy foods? Like, what the hell are they selling in the rest of the grocery store? What are they feeding? What are we eating? What are we
Yeah.
doing to ourselves? You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
You have to ask yourself that.
Yeah. I think you were talking earlier about the visceral fat. It made me think, we call some Asians call them skinny fat.
Yeah. Yes, that's another big component too. So, like, us Asians, we can still develop insulin resistance at lower BMIs because body mass index, that was that scale was built off of Caucasian bodies. So
Mm.
for us, like, if take me for example, like, you know, at like 25 is usually a cutoff. It's like between like 17, 18 to 25 is the normal BMI number. Above that is you start getting to overweight and then obese. People that are Asian, even with a normal BMI, can still develop these things because of what I just said about the visceral fat.
Mm. Mhm.
The
Mhm.
BMI scale doesn't catch that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kinda like, when you have kids and they're at, like, the 10th percentile for height, you're like, "Wait, what? Who made this scale?"
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's compared to, Caucasian body types. So
Sure,
there's
yeah.
no wonder. And the thing is, other Asian countries actually have now catered a specific BMI to their relative population, which is good, right? But
Mhm.
like we're kind of like behind in that sense here in the United States.
Sure. And I would think even things like, medicines, pharmaceutical companies don't test them on Asians probably for the most part.
Initially, yeah, when they came up with these like older medications, we're talking about diabetes. Yeah, this wasn't tested on us. So,
Mhm.
and not to say that they don't help. Like,
Right.
I am not against Western medications. I'm not against any of that. I was trained in that. And in certain situations, it's necessary, but at the same time too, my problem is that one, what you just mentioned, these medications weren't necessarily built for us in mind. And then number two, in our society, we always want like that magic pill, like that easy way, the biohack. Like when it comes to lifestyle, I'm sorry to say there's no shortcut here. Your body didn't get like this overnight. It's been developing over the years and years and years.
Mhm.
So to turn it around, it requires effort, time, and patience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we may talk about some medicine in a second,
Yeah,
but,
sure.
let's, well, you know which one I'm gonna mention.
Yeah.
But, well, let's talk about your philosophy first of all. I think you've said this question to other people, so I'm gonna flip it on you.
Yeah, flip it on me.
What does health mean to you, or what does healthy mean to you?
Yeah. For me, honestly, it is treating your body with compassion and care and love every single day,
Mm.
no matter what you are doing. I think that part of this is the physical, right? We don't realize some of the habits that we have, and we're hurting ourselves. And it's like, why do
Mm.
we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves? We stay up late at night to like wake up the next morning like groggy. Like I used to hate when my dad would tell me, go to sleep early so you can wait. He was right this whole time. He was right this whole time. I go to bed at like 8:30 or 9. We got young kids too, but like, yeah, he was right. And just other habits like that. But part of the other equation of this is the mental, emotional aspect.
Mm.
I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of listeners out there can relate to this. Asians have this tendency to impart on our kids and grandkids of like doing the best you can. And like this pressure we put on ourselves
Mhm.
and there has to be more compassion in that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about your thoughts on treating problems versus preventative problems. What's your overall, like, what do you tell someone, like, if I, okay, so I walk in, I'm 55 years old, walk in the office. All right. Full disclosure, everyone out there, A1C level 5.7, Jonar 5.7. What are you going to tell me? What's the first thing you're going to tell me?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, how are you living? Like, what are you eating?
Mhm.
How are you moving your body?
Yeah.
What's your stress level like on a scale of 1 to 10? Stress is something that is not talked nearly enough about. And I think, like, since the pandemic, there's more, like, open discussion about mental health, which is great. But something as basic as chronic stress is not nearly talked about enough, and that has direct effects in the body. Chronic stress can lead to this hormone in the body called cortisol, and it's considered the stress hormone. So if you're not handling emotional stress well, guess what? That remains elevated.
Mm.
Cortisol triggers the release of, like, sugar stores in the body. So it raises your sugar in your blood. That puts you at risk of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes.
Mhm.
So I always ask people, like, what's your stress level like out of a scale 1 to 10? Most often, folks are like anywhere from 5 to 7. That's
Uh-huh.
where they live.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'd ask that, and then I'd ask, like, how are you sleeping? How many hours of sleep are you getting a night? If you're getting below 7 hours of sleep a night, that puts you at risk for insulin resistance. Every hour slept less than 7 by, like, 25%.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
because sleep, this is another big one that people, like, just throw to the side, is your body's time to rest and repair and balance the hormones that have been off balance throughout the day.
Mm. Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
I usually start there. I don't start with, okay, let me write you a prescription for metformin,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
first line med for treating type 2 diabetes. I start with lifestyle first. And actually that's how all physicians and all health practitioners should start with. We shouldn't just jump straight to medications.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So type 2 diabetes, my dad had it. It runs in the family for sure. So I'm the poster child. If you need an example for someone who needs your help, I'm the guy. What are some things that we, maybe specifically Asians, but maybe generally too, can people do for helping our A1Cs and our type 2 diabetes prevention?
Yeah, great question. So you have to first understand how insulin resistance even happens in the first place. And you're in biology, so you get this. But for other folks that aren't in science, you have this hormone insulin that gets produced by the pancreas, and it gets released after every meal that you eat. And so insulin circulates around the blood, and it acts like a key to cell doors, to, like, open up this door to let sugar from the blood into the cells. And insulin resistance, that key no longer works. It's like the hole is mucked up and the key just can't unlock that door. So guess what happens to the sugar? It just stays in the blood. And so oftentimes this is due to inflammation. So what we can do is target the things that are inflaming our body. Oftentimes it is from the areas of health that I focus on, which is nutrition. That's necessary. Oftentimes that's like the biggest, maybe low-hanging fruit, if you want to say, for tackling first. Exercise, movement, stress management, and sleep. I work on all four of those. But for any one person who wants to try to improve these aspects, you have to look at it in terms of, how can I reduce the inflammation that's happening in my body? So if we're talking about food, looking at the things that cause inflammation. And almost invariably, it is due to processed foods and unhealthy fats that come from processed meats.
Mm.
And actually just any meats, but processed meats would be included in that.
Mhm.
So just
Mhm.
starting there alone, cutting down on that and eating more whole foods, plant foods that help to like nourish and heal the body. Just starting there, even that alone is huge. And then like doing an inventory like of what you're eating. Like take an inventory over the course of like 3 days and literally like take a screenshot or a photo of all the foods and the drinks you're doing. And then
Mm.
I don't know, have like an AI tool help you and throw it in there and be like, okay, like what what are these foods and what can I cut out? Right? Because
Mm.
oftentimes it's not so much a matter of adding, but more subtracting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So, you were saying definitely minimize ultra processed food or any
Yep.
processed food. You said meats in general have a little bit more, but what are some of the healthier proteins that we could be eating?
So the there's animal proteins and there's plant proteins,
Uh-huh.
right? Animal proteins for healthier ones, I would say, are the ones that have higher omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay.
And that would be stuff like salmon, sardines, and then a lot of the sort of plant proteins, tofu, which is a big one in Asian culture, and legumes and beans,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
lentils, um, all the different types of beans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Are you gonna come at my white rice?
No, actually, so
Okay.
the thing is, you have to understand too that the way that we approach diabetes conventionally here in the United States, we, this is pervasive. Low carb or cut out all the carbs completely. I believe you had a guest on the show, Mayor Yang from Monterey
Yeah.
Park.
Yeah. No
And
carbs.
you asked her noodles or rice, and she said none because she does low carb keto. This is a big misconception. Insulin resistance isn't due to carbs. It's not. It's a symptom of insulin resistance. Carb
Mm.
intolerance is what we're really talking about here. Happens because of insulin resistance. So yes, cutting out the carbs, part of it is the approach because you want to try to mitigate high sugars in the blood. But if you want to solve the problem at the root, it's fixing the insulin resistance itself. And so
Okay.
for folks that I work with, and for myself, like the first patient that I ever did this for was me, right? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a program like this. This is the whole reason I created this program and protocol because there was nothing like this out there for us Asians. And so I realized like there's extremes when it comes to diabetes and even weight loss, if you want to say. Two big camps: the ketogenic camp, ketogenic diet, where it's like high protein, high fat, cut out the carbs. And then there's like the 100% plant based vegan
Mm-hmm.
approach, right? And they're very extreme. And for us Asians, a lot of this food is tied to our culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, how can you marry your health goals and your heritage? They can exist in harmony. You don't have to completely cut out the carbs altogether. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I help the folks in my program because I was able to do it with myself. Like every single day, I'm not even kidding you. You can even go on my social pages. I eat green smoothies every single day. Guess what's in the green smoothies? Mangoes, bananas, pineapples. How the heck do you think I could do that if I've had insulin resistance in the past? Right? So, like, I don't tell people they can't cut it out altogether for good, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which would include white rice. And there's other ways about eating carbs that can help, like, lower and mitigate the high blood sugars after a meal.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
the sequence of the food that you eat matters. Movement after you eat matters. There's all these little tweaks you can make to the way that you live your life that can help lower your blood sugars. So yeah, one way is not it's unrealistic. Cutting out the carbs. I mean, our bodies. You're in biology, so you can vouch for this. We are made of carbon skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
Why
Mm-hmm.
why would we why would we ever not eat carb? It's unhealthy for you. And I've done ketogenic diet in the past. Like I did it for probably about 7 months, and I stopped doing it because I got this brain fog. It's called keto brain fog, right?
Huh.
And I just didn't feel good. I think a lot of it was like the circulating fats that were in my body. But I say all this to mean like you don't have to go extreme. In fact, that's detrimental. So I say for folks, you don't have to give up carbs. You don't. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to choose between rice and noodles, I'm going rice all the way. Okay. I'm Filipino. That's what we do. I love pancit, but you can't beat white rice.
All right, that's good to hear. Whew. I thought you were gonna come at me for the white
No,
rice,
not at
but
all, man. Not at all.
all right. What are your thoughts on GLP-1s?
Yes. So GLP-1s, I'm a fan of them. I think they're powerful medications that we've come up with. Now, I think that, you know, with the way social media is and mainstream media is, they've been focused on for the weight loss aspect of the medication.
Mm-hmm.
These medications were actually created for diabetics
Right.
because the whole reason they even were able to come up with this in the first place was they found that our bodies produce natural GLP-1 in the gut. So we
Mm.
actually make this
Hmm.
ourselves. And how do we make it? Through eating fiber. Plant foods help to stimulate the
Hmm.
production of it. And so this medication, GLP-1, so that's glucagon like peptide 1, what it does in the body is it slows digestion down. So it slows the uptake of like sugar from the gut into the blood. That helps
Mm.
with not even just like, post meal blood sugars, but your insulin sensitivity, right? So that's like the second thing. And the third thing is it sends a signal up to your brain like that you're full. And so you don't eat as much. And
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
what people often experience when they take this medication. The problem I have with the medication is what I said before early on in the show, which is we always want to go for this magic pill.
Mm-hmm.
We want the shortcut, And I think for some folks they need it, and I'm not against anyone taking it. I have some folks that start in the program, they're on their GLP-1, and by the end of it, they're off of it, right? So I'm not against it at all. I get that it works in certain situations,
Mm-hmm.
but my problem is our philosophy around it. We want a pill for an ill. How about fixing the problem at its root first?
Yeah. You're talking common sense. I don't.
Yeah, yeah, dude, I'm a common sense guy, man. Like, I and the thing is too, like, flexibility is key here as well. Like, there's not this all or nothing attitude. Like the extremes I talked about before with like the dieting, it doesn't have to be that way. You can find your middle way throughout all of this, you
Yeah.
know, and treat your body with kindness and compassion.
So much good stuff, man. I think that I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, and
Thank you.
people can come to you for coaching. What's your website for coaching?
So it's called For Truth Health. So the number 4 and then the word truth and the word health, no spaces between.com.
Yeah, so people can get you for coaching right there. All right, but you also in your spare time, I don't know how you have any spare time. In your spare time you do podcasting.
I
We
do, I
have
do. Similar to you, I started mine in 2021 sorry, 2020 during the pandemic.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And so it's all about healthy living
Yeah.
and it's called Glass Half Healthy. So I have guests on the show that to discuss, different aspects of health from nutrition to sleep to stress management to movement. And, guests that have also inspiring stories.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm. What's a what's a lesson that you learned from doing your podcast, or what's something that made you go, "Oh, really?"
Honestly, I think it's that we all have these unique health journeys that we go on,
Mm.
and there's different ways up the mountain, so to speak, to get to better health.
Mhm.
What works for someone might not work for the next. And so being open to different approaches and not so closed off because you don't know if that thing could actually help you, So I would say like always approaching things with an open mind, but like a healthy dose of questioning and inquiry, approaching things as a scientist.
Mm.
I was trained as a doctor, but first and foremost as a scientist. And like, you wanna test things, put things to the test, experiment. That's what I have a lot of my clients do is like, see what your blood sugar does. Like it could be different from one person to the next. So like see what happens and then adjust. Yeah.
Mm. And so these are fellow physicians, or are they just from all walks of life? Or
Yeah, all walks of life. Some of them are physicians, some of them are nutritionists, some are like, yoga specialists. So it just it's all different walks of life.
okay, all right. So glass half healthy.
Yes.
How often are you doing that? You do? I didn't look on your feed.
So I actually put it on hold
Okay.
um towards the end of last year,
Okay.
but I've got like, 3 or 4 years worth of episodes that people can listen to. They're still up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that these episodes they have a life, they kind of live on their own, and
Yeah.
some people stumble in and find something,
Right.
I'll get a random friend once in a while and they go, "Oh, I just listened to an episode," but then they name one that was like 3 years ago or something. I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm glad you found it." But yeah, I'm glad that they live there and people can find it if they're looking for it. All right, guess what? You've survived our difficult questions. Are you ready for some quick fire?
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Now the answers don't have to be quick. I'm just going to shoot them at you here.
Sure, sure.
I think you already mentioned a few, and you
Yep.
can re-mention one. But what's a small change that everyone can do, like something that I can do today to help me on my journey here?
Yeah. I actually just went over this with all my health coaching clients in our group call. And there's 5 morning habits that the Japanese have been doing for ages. And so, I think that doing these will allow you to start your day off right because oftentimes what we're doing is we're just waking up and on autopilot. And our day gets the best of us. We don't feel like there's intention built behind doing the things that we do. And so, the 5 that I went over, one is hydrate before caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, specifically like warm water with like a squeeze of lemon and a sprinkling of salt, and that'll help to balance your electrolytes and your magnesium levels specifically. That can help with cortisol levels. We talked about cortisol being
Uh-huh.
linked to stress. But at the same time, too, oftentimes we wake up dehydrated because of like water losses at night. So that's number one. Number two is get sunlight early. Within the first like 30, 60 minutes of waking up, just step outside. If you can, I know that everyone's not living in sunny SoCal. I get it. But but as it's getting warmer, because we're like, in the spring, sun's out. Go outside. Go, take your cup of coffee or tea, step outside. Tea actually, because the third one is pausing before the stimulation. So you want to refrain from drinking coffee at least 90 minutes after you wake up. And the reason being
Mm.
is because you want your body to clear out this neurotransmitter called adenosine. Adenosine is this thing that builds up like, when we sleep and after we sleep, gives us that groggy feeling. And so the enzyme that breaks that down, caffeine binds to that
Oh.
enzyme receptor. And so what ends up happening is if you drink caffeine too early, guess what? That adenosine stays there. It doesn't get broken down. And then once that caffeine wears off in the afternoon, 2 or 3 p.m., boom, you feel tired again. Why? Because of this. So hold off on caffeine for the first 60, ideally 90 minutes after you wake up.
Okay.
And then choose gentle movement first. Folks sometimes do strenuous activity up front in the morning. We talked about this whole like cortisol in the morning. We don't want to do super strenuous activity because that can shoot up cortisol even
Uh,
higher during a
huh.
workout and kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. So walking outside, it's as simple as just walking. There's this thing called optic flow where your visual field on both sides creates this like calming effect. And that helps to like calm the nervous system. So walking outside, even if it's for 10, 15 minutes, right? And then the last one is protecting your mind from early scrolling. Silence before screens. How many
Okay.
of us go for the phone right when we wake up and we start just scrolling 24-hour news feed, social media? Dude, just put the phone down. Put the phone down, do these things. This will help you to reclaim your day. this 1 hour will help to set the tone for the next 23.
Mm. Man, you gave me there's so much to work on, but it's not that hard, right? These are
It's
not,
not
like,
These are
huge
simple things. You
lifts.
don't need a gym membership, you don't need special equipment. These are easy things to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I love it. I'm gonna write those down. I'm gonna listen back to this and write those down, so maybe I'll put that in the show notes, everyone out there. I'll give you the
Yeah,
5
sure.
easy ones. Alright, again, you can repeat something, but what's one thing that you build into your personal habits that's non-negotiable? That you have to do it?
Meditation. Meditation.
Meditation?
Yeah. I've been an avid meditator for 22 years. It is something that it's like showering. I gotta do it. I have to
Mm.
do it. Otherwise, my day feels off.
Hmm,
Yeah.
hmm.
It helps to just quiet the mind, you know, and it sets the tone for the rest of the day. I mean, in addition to those 5 morning habits, the first thing I do when I wake up is I sit for 20 minutes. Yeah,
Makes
and just breathe.
sense.
Mhm.
Alright, now, you're not necessarily advocating this for other people, but what's your guilty pleasure? Like, something that you maybe not the most healthy for you, but you do it anyway.
Oh, man. My clients are gonna give me so much flack for saying this, but recently, there's this matcha place that opened up at our house, and they have this, like, Hokkaido-style soft serve. I
Oh,
don't know if anyone's ever had, like, Hokkaido soft serve. It's, like,
yeah.
this specific milk from Japan,
Yeah.
and it is so good. So good. See, and, like, you were saying, like, I was gonna give you flack, like, I still eat some of this stuff. Yeah, I do it, like, in very much moderation, but I still do it, and you can still enjoy those things, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I like it because yeah, like you said before, health is being nice to your body and being nice to yourself,
Yeah,
and, enjoying life to a certain extent, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, and our final question is, we asked our guests to choose an infatuation. Infatuation is any Asian that you admire, could be living or deceased, someone you know or someone you admire from afar. So, Dr. Jonar De Guzman, who is your infatuation?
It would be Thich Nhat Hanh. So I have his
Oh,
book right here.
uh-huh.
Vietnamese Buddhist monk who fled from Vietnam, kinda like asylum, um, from his home country, and he's an author. He has so many great books and just so much wisdom that he has shared in his life to others, and, he passed away, more recently, but, I admire him so much,
Hmm.
and I think anyone listening out there that, is curious about it, yeah, his books have transformed my life and my meditation practice specifically.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Buddhist or non-Buddhist reader could be inspired for him by him?
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, with Buddhist philosophy, a lot of the actual practice itself, which is meditation, right? Anyone can do this. You don't have to be Buddhist to practice meditation. And there's so many benefits behind meditation practice that, like, our modern science is just catching up with now. There's so many health benefits to it. And at the very least, helping to handle stress, you know?
Mhm.
I think that it could benefit anyone, and you don't just like the morning habits, you don't need any special equipment. You
Mhm.
just need to sit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the ancient ways. I think,
Yeah.
I think we've lost our way a little bit with our technology and our modernism. I think sometimes the ancient ways might have been onto something.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah.
It's something that we didn't even mention that I'll mention quickly is a lot of my health coaching philosophy is based off of lifestyle medicine, which is a relatively new field in, modern medicine, and it focuses on chronic disease and evidence-based approaches to treat, prevent, and even reverse that through the 6 pillars that they have. And the
Mhm.
6 pillars are being nutrition, exercise, stress management, movement, um, avoiding risky behaviors, and social connections. And if you look at, there's certain societies around the world that have had a higher density of centenarians, people living to 100.
Yeah.
Have you heard
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
The
Japan,
book is
right?
called The Blue Zones.
Yeah.
And one of those societies is here, actually, in California, in
Hmm.
Loma Linda, but another one is in Okinawa in Japan. And
Mm-hmm.
so what they did, Dan Buettner was the author of this book, and him with his a team of researchers, they looked at like their lifestyles and they came up with the power of nine. So nine habits that they all share in common. And and so like, yeah, they've been doing it for ages. Like they're living into their 90s and hundreds without chronic disease.
Yeah.
So there must be something that they're doing
Yeah.
that is like recipe for health, success, and longevity.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been totally fun. Can we shout out your socials one more time so people
Yeah.
can find you?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm at diabetes reversal coach on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So,
Okay.
or you can find me at Dr. Jonar. That's like my personal, but like my main one across all three. That is like my username, if you will. So it's reverse diabetes doc. Just no spaces. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll type that out for everyone
Yep.
in the show notes.
For
All
sure.
right, and then we end with a little call to action. I ask people to be happy, healthy, and then I let my guests choose the third word. So I'll do a little read here, and then I'll point to you when we're ready
Sure.
for the close here. All right, everyone out there, go find Dr. Jonah wherever you can on social media, and thank you so much for coming on the show. Uh, Give us a follow over at Infatuasian Podcast on Instagram or wherever you get your social media. You can write us an email at infatuasianpodcast@gmail.com. And now we are hard launching our website, which is infatuasian.com. You can catch up. Like I said, you can find a 3-year-old episode on there. Just scroll through and you can find something that interests you. Point your friends there. That would help us out to get some more visibility for the podcast. But until we talk to you again, on behalf of Dr. Jonah and myself, we hope that you're all happy, healthy, and
At peace.
at peace. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk soon. Bye.